Due to varied results of modern communication and its effect in an organization, my group and I decided to look into the effects of modern communication in the workplace. Because we are studying criminal justice, we thought that it'd be fair to interview the Guam Police Department Lieutenant Andrew B. Quitugua, who heads the Guam Boat Law Administration. I started the interview with asking Lieutenant Quitugua of his opinion on how modern communication has had an effect on his employees.
It's a lot faster with the use of modern technology. If we didn't have the use of email, we would have to rely on messages, tasks, and things that deal with our day-to-day routine work here at our office based on face-to-face communication, telephone calls that are distorted, and only sender and receiver of messages is usually involved with that kind of communication. But emails can be copied to as many people as necessary. It will get the one message, it will not be distorted, and tasks will be taken from whatever message is communicated over email. A lot easier than if I was to call three different people at three different discussions, focusing on one thing, and there may be some miscommunication along the way. So communication technology has increased our ability to communicate much faster, more clear discussions, more clear instructions and expectations of workers in the office is what the objectives are when we talk about technology and communication.
I also asked Lieutenant Quitugua to tell us about the different communication tools that they have at the office at the Boating Law Administration.
We use email messages, and email messages can be sent, of course, over desktop computers, like what we have here. We also have laptop computers that we use out in the field, and smartphones. Smartphones is a personal item. We don't distribute smartphones in government, at least in this office. But the use of smartphones, personal smartphones, to receive email messages is, it's like I was saying earlier in question number one, is that it's more effective when we communicate. Um, we also have in our conference room a conference phone, which is a phone that's set up and has an ability for conference calls to be made with the office. With this office, we rely heavily on grant money, and our grantor is the United States Coast Guard, which is in Washington D.C. And there are at times a requirement that we have conference calls, and we communicate through conference calls in order to discuss certain objectives of our office, some of the requirements that need to be accomplished here, some of the objectives that they are looking at us starting projects to, and because they are the ones giving us the money, we are required to justify these things, and the only way to justify it is through communication. So we use conference call. We also have updated televisions with digital monitors that are very big. They're TVs that we can hook up to the internet, to a computer, through a computer, and have Skype conferences with headquarters personnel who give us our money. So it is important to have those types of equipment in our office in order to facilitate communication.
I also asked Lieutenant Quitugua on his opinion on how technology is changing the way government operates.
It is making it more efficient. Technology will always strive to make things more efficient. Communications is a very vital tool in government work. If instructions, if expectations, changes in some of the objectives during the workday are not communicated, workers will not know. So it it removes a lot of distortion with what is expected of the worker and what the manager actually expects to get done every day. So technology is a very useful tool in making sure that clear communication comes across, like I said, through email, through a phone call, which about maybe 10 to 15 years ago, very few people had cell phones. And these are personal cell phones, okay? But they would rather use their personal cell phone in order to communicate clear instructions with management or from management to worker, to employee, on communicating how work gets done in government. In government, it's vital that communications are clear and that what is expected of people in the office, including managers like myself. There isn't a question about how it's going to get done simply by sending the right communication and using the right tools. Computers are much faster now. Writing reports back in the early 2000s, writing reports was usually what we did. Now we are submitting our reports on a network that's secure just for the police department, and our ability to make changes on reports is much easier now because we use tools like the computer, where if I was writing it and I made mistakes on the page, simply lining it out would become an issue, and then having to write more pages, and it's just very hard to write, and compared to what we have now available for us, which are computers. It's much faster, it's much more efficient. Okay, a lot of the communication tools that we use now are updated communication tools, and some of the consequences of using updated communications tools is sometimes question whether somebody's listening in on conversations, because that definitely can happen with a phone like this or a computer system that's hooked up to a network and managed by people that are not working for me. They're working in an office. So if you're not questioning the integrity of offices that manage your information technology systems, then you're fine. But there's always that human nature for others to assume that people may be reading their emails and they don't want certain messages to come across the wrong way. So technology is not putting the person in front of another person, having a discussion, and however slow that is, that communication from sender to receiver and vice versa is unquestionable. It's communication that is not distorted whatsoever. But if I was reading a message over the email and felt that, I felt that this guy meant something that's completely out of context with what's on the message, that in and of itself is the consequence of using high-tech stuff. Because using high-tech stuff, you don't get that one-on-one conversation, discussion, and me reading the person's tone of voice, a person's character when he describes things. And that is very meaningful in using what people will term outdated technology with regard to communications. We have certain office equipment that's not communication related in our office right now. We have a typewriter right now because we can't print. We can print certain types of formatted documents that are required for what we do in this office, such as a boating certificate of number, which is like a registration for a boat. There are certain federal requirements that we need to have certain size card, certain information on that card, and if we were to buy a program just for that one system, it would cost way more money than if we were to just print a few things on a card and then type it out on our typewriter. So we don't need to buy a big expensive program. All we need to do is buy a typewriter. So we still keep a typewriter in the office. And those are some of the pros and cons of what people consider outdated office equipment and communications equipment, and updated office equipment and communications equipment as well.
I concluded the interview process of asking Lieutenant Quitugua if he had anything else to include. Communication in the workplace.
Yes, I like to say that modern communication is is very, very efficient for me in this office. I expect those that are in this office to understand the use of technology in order to send messages, receive messages, and perform whatever functions need to be performed with the communications that are being sent within the office. Now, uh, some of the things that we expect others out in our community, as an example, for technology that is focusing on at least voting registrations. Most of the voting people on the island are retired people. Okay, they do not use computers. A lot of them would rather come to our office and perform whatever government services need to be performed here at the office. So our use of technology in the office doesn't reach out far enough into the community to make them receive it well enough so that maybe they can someday go online and receive a registration online and pay online and not have to come to the office. And we could probably reduce hours right now. And that's some of the things that that I'd like to conclude the importance and what we're striving to do as far as the use of technology in order to communicate and have this office function as efficiently as it can for the people who use it out in the public. Because we are a public service, we are government, and if we can make it more efficient for people on the island, make it cheaper, make it a lot more affordable, and get them involved with education as an example, voting education. If they were to get on a computer, go online, visit our website, and get that across to them. But unless we get a positive response from the public, then our efforts are sometimes not fully it's not fulfilled. Our efforts are not fulfilled to the level that we would like to see it work for the people of Guam. And that's pretty much what I have to say about technology and our office.
After interviewing Lieutenant Quitugua, it became known that modern communication is extremely important in the workplace. When things go wrong in the workplace, communication, whether it's technological or verbal, is a key element to fixing those problems. Stephen Covey once said, "Seek first to understand, then be understood."